Welcome back to another episode of the Inside Japan podcast. I'm Charlie, and this podcast is sponsored by JobsinJapan.com, which is the best place on the internet to find your next job in Japan. I am joined by none other than Peter Lackner. He's the guy who runs Jobs in Japan, and he has so much inside knowledge on how to get your next job and how to get paid more money while you're working here in Japan. So, Peter, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Great to have me. Great to, well, I'm doing it here, so okay, great, but okay, great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So let's get straight into it. I don't want to waste too much of your time. So imagine you're in a hiring position in Japan, whether it's like IT or teaching or marketing, recruiting, whatever it is. And what are some of the things that you immediately use to discard a resume and take someone out of the running for a position that you're hiring for?
Okay, so yeah, you have to understand first that most of the hiring managers, they're either, I don't know what you can call them, busy or lazy, however you want to phrase it. But what they want to do is get down to the least amount of candidates they can to just focus on those people, because they're going to get 100 or so applications. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to go through every one of them. So they're going to find some tricks to like discard the people before even looking at the resume itself. And that's where the cover letter comes in. So Of course, it's going to be a no-brainer for on the cover letter, like if you have a spelling error or something like that, or if it's formatted, or if you're sending something to one company and you did a bad copy and paste and you forgot to change the company name. Those are no-brainers, and you deserve not to get the job. But some of the big things that I see is that in the cover letter, people are making it very vague because they're just using it to apply to every job. So a job seeker is going to apply to what? 5, 10, maybe 20 jobs. But what they don't understand is that hiring manager has probably seen 5, 10, 20 applications that morning. So they can see a copy paste cover letter right away. So if you say, and just use pronouns like, oh, I'm interested in your position that you've put on this site. And it's like, no, okay, I'm interested in the kindergarten teacher or the IT position that ABC put on Jobs in Japan, something like that, just so they know that you're actually applying to that job. And then one of the things that is one of the pet peeves with a lot of employers is when you say these meaningless things like, oh, as you'll see from my resume, I'm an ideal fit for the position. But then you don't give any details on why you're a good fit and what you saw in the job description that makes you want to apply to it. So they just like, oh no, they're using spray and pray. They've used the same cover letter for everybody. So this person is interested in any job and not my job.
And I've seen that a lot. And this is actually something that we were talking about before the podcast started. Like whenever you're trying to pitch for business, you also address things line by line. So you look in the job description and people will tell you what they're looking for. They'll say, we want someone who has at least, 1 or 2 years experience teaching in, solo teaching in whatever environment. We want someone who has a TEFL or is currently undertaking a TEFL or CELTA qualification. And you say, I have a TEFL qualification from blah, blah, blah. I have 3 years of experience solo teaching in this environment. So then they can go, oh, okay, so we asked for this, they have this. Don't make them guess, don't make them look at your resume and search and find what they're looking for. Like make it super, super clear to them up front so they can go, oh, this person, check. This person's in the running.
Yeah, exactly. No, you don't expect an employer saying, oh, I'm a perfect fit for your job. No details, and they're going to
you figure it out.
Where are they again? I don't see that. So no, you just say, like, as you mentioned in your job description, I have this, and this, and then say anything else that makes the employer feel special. They like their company, they like their job, or something like that. Make them feel special. Like, I want to work for your company. And like, I've identified this one out of all the other jobs. Try and make them feel special. And that I want this job, not just any job. And then you're going to be one of the 5% that actually do that.
Right. And that's definitely in part, I think it's a lot of just laziness on the part of people applying for jobs. I got some really good advice. I think it might have been you who gave me this advice, maybe 5 or 6 years ago when I was starting out looking for better teaching jobs in Tokyo. And you said, act as though it's like a part-time job to apply for jobs. It's not something you just do like, you come home from work and just like, okay, I'll just like click, 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 click and send them all off. Think of it as like you actually have a job to do. You have to figure out how can you make your qualifications look like the right thing for that job. And I change my resume and my cover letters for every job I apply for. And I have like one resume that's just for like marketing and tech jobs. And then I have one resume that's for writing jobs. And I have a different resume that's for teaching jobs that emphasize different parts of those jobs. You don't want to just like go in, like you said, with this spray and pray attitude which really, like you said, the hiring managers can see that a mile away. And they're just like, okay, not this guy because he's lazy.
No, exactly. And even more than having just one for your marketing, one for your, I don't know, for your social media, one for your teaching adult or teaching ALT and all this, make one super, super long master resume that has everything you've ever done and every achievement that you've had since you were 5 years old. Don't go back that far. But, and then before you apply for the job, don't use this to apply for a job, just keep it updated. And then when you see the job description, it's like, okay, this is what I want, and just cut out all the chaff and all this. And then you're just going to have a really good resume that meets that job. And then you're going to say, no, this is what I have. And then tailor almost every resume to the job. Because some people, they're just going, I know it's a lot of work. It's like, wow, that's too much work. And it's like, well, if you're just going to do the copy and paste and send the resume, employers know what that is, and they're going to say, oh, this guy's lazy, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. What are some other things, like some good things to put in your, so rather than just things to avoid when sending your CV out to people, what are some things that you should put in your resume or your CV and in your cover letter that actually make you look like a better candidate, like more worth interviewing?
Well, the first thing you have to understand is that in the cover letter, the purpose of your application, your resume and your cover letter isn't to get you a job. Well, that's the end game, of course. But you're not going to try, no one's going to say, wow, this is a great cover letter, you're hired. So the purpose of your cover letter, and more than a resume, because the cover letter is what the employers look at first before they even look at your resume. So if you have a sloppy cover letter, you're out. So anyways, they're not even going to go that extra mile. But what I want to say is that the purpose of your cover letter is to impress them enough that you get a sit-down meeting, which is the interview. That's when you can go into all your other skills and all this, but make it punchy, and don't send like your life's history and all that, because that's just going to anger and insult the hiring manager. Like, wow, that's a really, really, really long cover letter. They're a bad communicator.
Yeah. Yeah, I think being concise is really important. If you can say it in 300 words or in 600 words, say it in 300 words. Like, you want to keep it a lot shorter so that you don't waste too much of their time.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's okay to tell me, I don't want to like, pick on any particular employers, but what are some red flags for job seekers looking at job descriptions or posts? And what would you advise people looking at those kind of posts to ask about in an interview? Like, I've seen some things like, for example, salary ranges that really mean like the bottom number, not the top number.
Yeah, sometimes with the salary ranges, or like, I don't want to say like uncapped bonuses and all that. Some of them for the ranges is basically going to say, oh, we're going to lowball you. But no, the one thing that I would like to, when you're applying to jobs, and this is, I'm going to get a little bit on the English teaching side, because we do have a lot of English teaching positions, and that's a very common job for people to come over to Japan before they get the language skills. And no, you can get a better teaching job, of course, but we have maybe 40% of the jobs on the site are English teaching. So I'll just use an example. When they say about the schedule and all this, make sure that the working hours are not like a split shift. So I'm going to work for ABC Happy Genki English Studio or something like this. And so I apply for the job, but then I find out later, it's like, oh, wait a second. 3 other weekdays, I'm going to have to work from 9 to 11. And then I have off, and I have to be back at the school from 3 o'clock until 9 o'clock. You're going to have no work-life balance.
Yeah.
So, but it's also good. Yeah. When you're finding that out, it's just like, no, is this a straight shift, Or is this a split shift and all this? Opportunities for advancement? Is there going to be training? When I first started, I came over and I was an English teacher. That was my first job. And my training was, oh, this is Brad. He's leaving next week. Please sit down in his classes for 3 days. And this guy's already mentally checked out. And so,
Yeah.
but I'm watching his classes and he didn't get any training. So I'm getting training by an untrained teacher. And
Mm.
so just ask about the training, just little things like that. Are you going to be an employee or as a contract employee? Yeah, just things like that.
Yeah, that's a super important thing as well. Like on those points, I had the same situation when I was working in Nagoya, where I had a job where I was working with the kindergarten students until 1:50, and then they would go home, and then I had from 1:50 until 4 p.m. of unpaid break time.
Right.
But I couldn't go anywhere or do anything. It wasn't my time. I was just like sitting around in the break room, taking a super long lunch and chatting with my coworkers until 4 p.m. when the afternoon Eikaiwa students would come in. So that's a real pain, because then you end up working from 8 a.m. till I think it was 6:50 or 7 p.m. That's your
Yeah.
whole day. And you
Yeah,
get
you can
home,
get
there's no
some
time.
studying done, but study some Japanese. But no, it's not going to be productive. And even if you're at the school and somebody comes up to you, it's like, no, I'm on break time. Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, and I was super lucky as well that my first company, I think we have this on the board sometimes, Peppy Kids Club. That was my first job in Japan, and they have 2 weeks of pretty intense training. And as much as there, I think a lot of companies will do different kinds of training, but their training was super concise and really clear. And I felt actually like quite confident going into the classroom, even as a completely like, other than that training, I'd never taught kids before. And I was at least able to solo teach classes straight out of the gate, which actually set me up really well for like future kindergarten positions that I got when I was teaching as a kindergarten teacher, because I was ready. I was the best candidate by far, because I could plan a lesson. I could show them that I could teach by myself without, like ALTs will often have to depend quite heavily on the Japanese teacher. And then once they get into a solo teaching position, they just can't do it, because it's a really different thing to prepare and deliver your own lesson compared to sitting next to a Japanese teacher and being a tape recorder sometimes, like that, depending on the Japanese teacher. But I had that a few times where there was the teacher just like, I'm going to teach the whole lesson in Japanese. You're a tape recorder. But
But it just makes it more enjoyable, because you'll feel like a fraud otherwise. It's like, oh, they're asking me all these questions, but I can't answer it, and all this. And so you just feel like, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
So
Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying the conversation, and I just want to take a quick moment to mention that this podcast is only possible because of the support of JobsinJapan.com. So next time you're looking for a job, check out JobsinJapan.com. There are tons of jobs on there, not only in English teaching, but also software engineering, hospitality, marketing and consulting, among many others. Most of the jobs on the board do not require any specific level of Japanese, and you can get started in minutes. So next time you're looking for a job, check out JobsinJapan.com, and let's get back to the conversation.
So how does one go about making more money as a teacher in Japan? So like, what advice would you give for people who maybe have been here for a few years and they want to make a better than average living in Japan?
okay, so for the teaching part, you're going to have to make a decision whether you're going to actually be a teacher or if you're going to stay in Eikaiwa and all this. So I do suggest whatever route you go, learn some Japanese and all this. And also getting a certification that's going to help you, whether it be a different CELTA, Delta, TESOL, whatever it's going to be, get one of those. But and then if you want to teach at the university level. So of course, the more qualifications you have, the more options you're going to have. For the Eikaiwa side, the English conversation side, you are going to top out at a certain level. Education, unfortunately, this is worldwide, doesn't pay as much as other jobs, IT, the sales jobs or something like that. So, but if you want to stay in English conversation, there's basically only a few ways to make more other than, how would I say, getting better qualifications and your loyalty and like timing grade bonuses that school will give you. One is you're probably going to make more money having a number of part-time jobs and private lessons yourself. So you'll have some private lessons on your own, and then you'll be working part-time at different places, because part-time jobs pay better per hour than if you're on a full-time gig. So I think you do that yourself, right? Or
I
did?
have done in the past, yeah. But when I was teaching, I had matched up my schedule with 3 different teaching jobs, and I think that year I made the most money I've ever made as a teacher in Japan. It was because I think when you really break it down, a full-time job, look at how many hours you're doing and how many hours you have to be at work and working on your job. So it's not only the time that you're teaching, it's also the office time that you have to spend. It's also the admin that you have to do and your lesson prep. And I think one of my jobs, I'd gotten a salary bump switching from my second to my third job. And I thought, cool, I'm making 320,000 yen a month. Like, that's really good money for a teacher. And then I looked at how many hours I had to be at work, and I thought, my hourly rate is 1,600 yen an hour. That's
Right.
atrocious. It's really bad. It's only slightly more than minimum wage. And so
Here's an example. I got an example for you. It's on the site right now. It'll probably be off by the time this podcast goes live, but there's one job by an agency called M's Connection. Anyways, they have a kindergarten, and they just need a teacher once a week for 1 hour for 2 30-minute sessions. And then basically it's going to be time in the school is going to be about 70, 75 minutes. They pay 5,000 yen per that hour for that, for that time. And they also pay transportation up to 2,000 yen. So you can get 7,000 yen for 1 hour during that week. And it's in Yokohama. So if you live in the area of Yokohama, and they're flexible about what time in the morning you can come. So it's like, yeah, okay, I'll have my class at 9:30 because I start this other job, whatever, at 11. So you work from 9:30 to 10:45 or whatever, pick up your 5,000 yen. And that's decent money.
Yeah, once a week, like that's an extra 20,000 yen a month in your pay packet. That's huge. Like that's a really big deal for just an extra hour.
So, but no, those are out there, but they're few and far between. So you're just going to have to keep your eyes open. But then again, this company has a few more of them. So if you do well, then you can spread the hours and get a couple of those in a row and you make your day.
Right. I think when I first went sort of like freelance teaching style, I had an afternoon class in Tachikawa. And then I think there was one that I found on Jobs in Japan this is back in the day. I think maybe even before I was working with you, that was a summer camp of some kind, like not summer camp, like actual camp, but a summer like English training thing for students who were traveling abroad. And I think that job, I think the hourly rate was something like 3,600 yen an hour. So it was double what I was making per hour at the previous work. And it was every Tuesday and Thursday. So I could have my afternoon classes every day of the week except Wednesday. And then the Tuesday and Thursday at that school. I was making more money with Monday mornings off, whole of Wednesdays off, and then also Friday mornings off than I was when I was working full time from like 8 a.m. to 6:50 p.m.
Right, and you could use that other time that you have off to build up whether you want to increase your qualifications, do another side gig, or just exercise to have a better life.
Yeah, exactly. So what are some of the changes in technology that have really affected looking for jobs in Japan? I know, like Jobs in Japan, for example, we're doing on-demand video interviews, which has been huge. I've noticed like how much of an impression you can make on a hiring manager by having a video of yourself rather than just your paper. But what are some of the things that are maybe better for job seekers? And what are some of the things that can kind of wreck your chances of getting a position?
So we do have this on-demand video interview. It's not a video resume, but we ask 5 or 6 standard interview questions, and everybody gets the same questions, the same amount of time to answer it, and the same amount of retakes. Because of course, when you're going to try, you're nervous with speaking into the camera and it's recording you. You're going, oh, I screwed up. I want to do it over again. So we give everybody three strikes, 3 chances to do it. But that's attached to your application. So basically, employers are looking at those first. So because it makes sense, because why go back and forth trying to schedule your interview? And then what's going to happen is 30 seconds into the interview, the hiring manager is going to say, wait, this doesn't look like the guy on paper. Oh, nice tattoo on your face. Is that a body? Yeah. It just doesn't match. Or but then that's going to waste both of your times. Yeah. So basically it's like, okay, here are some standard interview questions. This is who I am. If you like what you see, let's talk. If not,
Mhm.
don't waste my time. And then I'll go apply somewhere else. So it's
Right.
great just getting rid of that first round. Hi, just checking the pronunciation and how you look and all this, and
Mhm.
just getting that and starting at the second interview stage.
Right. And some of the video interviews that I've seen have really made me think of like that a candidate is fantastic when maybe on paper they don't look all that great, but then the way that they speak, the way that they hold themselves in that interview situation, I just think, wow, I definitely would like to second interview this person, even if, maybe on paper they didn't look so great.
Yeah, and it takes away a lot of the discrimination in hiring, and it's
Mhm.
been very helpful. So some employers have told me it's been great for the highly fluent non-native speakers.
Yes.
So I'm just going to use, I don't want to pick on the Philippines, but many people in the Philippines speak English far better than I can, as you can tell by how not articulate I am. And some people speak less well in the
Mhm.
Philippines. So they get on the video and it's like, hey, they speak fine. It's like,
Mhm.
wow, that person speaks great. I want to give them an interview. Where a
Right.
lot of the other employers saying, I want a native English speaker, and they don't
Right.
consider a lot of Filipinos native, and they just bypass these people, which could have been a great hire.
Yeah,
So a lot of people
absolutely.
come back and say, no, the video interview was what got me the job.
Yeah. So, okay, what are some of the technologies that really mess up people's chances though? Because I know I've had some issues with technology in the past, but maybe you can elucidate some of
Well,
the different ones that kind of screw you over.
okay, the one that's going to be it's going to hurt you the most is your smartphone.
Okay.
Do not apply to a job using your smartphone. Bookmark them and all this, because you wouldn't write a contract on a smartphone
Hmm.
and an important letter or a document for work, a presentation. So I see so many, how you say, stupid looking cover letters someone has drafted on a smartphone. So you're
Mm.
going to get this, just the corrective text and all this. It's going to capitalize things that you don't want to capitalize.
And
It's
no
going to split the
formatting. It,
punctuation.
yeah.
It's going to add in a word here and there. And guess what? You're out.
Hmm.
So it's very stupid if you're going to be applying for a job on a smartphone.
Okay.
That's the other thing. And right now with COVID and all this, you're probably going to have most of your interviews using Zoom or Skype or something. So not just our pre-recorded video interview, but your live interview might be online. So that people are not dressing up as you would for an interview. I wouldn't wear this for an interview. I would actually wear a shirt and a tie and all
Hmm.
this. Make sure the background looks good, not in a noisy place. And if your background is not good, and just say in the beginning of the interview, say, I'm sorry, I know this looks a little dark, but this is the only quiet place I have. And just
Hmm.
actually tell them like, no, I have common sense, but no, this is what it is. This is all I got that's quiet. Or like the device and all this. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
people make a lot of mistakes with the online interview because they're talking with friends and they get kind of lazy and all of this. And they're basically not on guard, if you will.
Mm, right.
So
So you mentioned about COVID and doing live interviews online. So how has the pandemic actually affected the jobs market in Japan? Because I I've noticed like we've had a lot of different kinds of jobs on jobs in Japan, but I wonder if people can still apply from outside of Japan. And what does that actually mean for people in the market still now? Like, there are a lot of people who are still here because maybe they don't want to go home right now because their home country is in a worse position than Japan. So is the market actually better for people in Japan already, or is it worse?
it's both. Okay, so
Okay.
some of the you're talking about education. So some of the industries have been just decimated in all this. So, for example, corporate training has really taken a dive because, well, the first thing that anything is going to happen in a company are the corporate training budgets are going to get slashed. So that's one of the things. And then because of COVID, more people are working from home. So it's like, oh, we're not going to go into the learning center into Tokyo or have those lessons. So a lot of that has happened. So a lot of the corporate training has gone down, which then a lot of those places have let teachers go.
Mhm.
But a lot of those teachers, corporate training paid historically better than kindergarten or other eikaiwa. So those people are now looking for basically what they can get, but a lot of the corporate trainers are a little bit older, like myself, and they don't always make the best kids teacher, or maybe they felt that they have grown out of that segment and they've gotten and they're basically taking a step down, going back into eikaiwa or that type. And there are fewer of the university jobs and all that. So that has taken a hit. Online, those seem to be growing, but the well-paying online teaching jobs are, few and far between. A lot of the online teaching jobs don't pay that well. ALTs, because it's hard to come to Japan, it's not impossible, but it's very, very difficult. And I'm not going to go into labor stuff right now. So the ALT market is still strong if you want to, especially if we want to go to a rural area and relocate. A lot of the agencies are offering some relocation assistance or like a one-time bonus and all that. But because the ALTs, the Board of Education, that's taxpayer money. So that is not has anything to do with how popular or how good the school is. Yeah, the high schools are going to need, or the middle schools are going to need their foreign ALT. Last year, a lot of the, the English conversation schools have had a little bit of a problem because not just because the parents were afraid to send Taro and Hanako to the school and all that because of COVID, is because a lot of the schools had to go online for a little while to keep the classes going. So, but what they didn't do, a lot of the teachers were not trained on how to give good online lessons. So they were just making up as they went along, and they were giving inferior lessons. Now, the problem with that is, while you're talking to, so maybe Charlie, if you were the student and I'm talking to you and you're 5 or 6 years old and we're doing it, outside of the camera angle is the kid's mother. It's like, oh, we're paying 12,000 yen a month for this? And so the schools that did not give good video lessons, even if it was only temporary, it made the schools look worse. And then, so there was a lot of turmoil in that market as well. A lot of the, seems like there's been an uptick in kids eikaiwa conversation, but it's not to what it was pre-COVID. Right. And corporate training is, who knows if that will ever come back to where it was.
Yeah, I mean, I was teaching at an international school when COVID hit, and we had, it was kind of not lucky necessarily, but it was at least reasonable that we had a little bit of time when the schools kind of all shut down at the beginning of March because of the worries about COVID. And then, the school year in Japan starts in April. So I was able to have that sort of like 6 weeks, almost 5 weeks or so, from when the schools shut at the beginning of March to when they opened up again, second week of April, to prepare really solid classes and to talk with other teachers and try to figure out, okay, how do we use Zoom properly? Like, let's use breakout rooms very liberally to make sure that students are getting a lot of contact time. And so, the reports that we got from parents and from the students, I had my highest reviews ever of my class when it was our first term online, when I was like trying to figure out how to do this in a good way. Right, yeah, so we're taking all of these textbooks and like, transponding them into like, presentation slides, and then using presentation slides with the groups. And I did a really great podcast with a guy called Gar Reynolds, who he wrote the book, I think it's a New York Times bestseller, Presentations. And he was brilliant. And, he was, instead of just having like the presentation with you in a little box in the corner, he was using virtual backgrounds to have the stuff on your slides coming up in the side of your actual window behind you, which, a lot of these tricks that you can learn, I think there's a huge opportunity with online classes to do that better than you might have done, or at least not better necessarily, but in ways better than you could possibly do it in person.
All right. So yeah, it's very difficult to teach online, and it's hard to get that connection in all this. But there are some things that you can do, how would I say, online, which is actually very good. So I've actually seen some, it's starting now, some of the schools in rural areas can't get a teacher. So because you can't hire a part-time teacher because of the visa and all this, and there's a lack of foreigners. So they're almost doing like a digital dispatch.
Mm.
So what you can have is the teacher will have a green screen like I do. This could be ABC, happy, lucky, whatever, a kindergarten, and all this put on the t-shirt with the school on it. And then the Japanese teacher will be there and herding cats and making sure they're doing it. But the difficulty is not having the online teacher be like a video and just do that, but how to let them engage with the students and correct their pronunciations. So bad pronunciation is not fossilized in their brain and all this. So, but yeah, it's things are evolving. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish it there. Thank you so much, Peter, for coming on and sharing your wisdom and your insights.
No, I appreciate you having me.
A massive thank you to Peter for sharing his insights on the podcast. Next time you're looking for a job, do check out JobsinJapan.com. Thank you so much for listening and see you next time.